Welcome back to The Derby Difference, the podcast where we share the people, stories, and experiences that make Derby Academy in Hingham, Massachusetts such a special pre-K through grade 8 community. Today I'm joined by someone who knows Derby from two unique perspectives, both as a student who once roamed these halls and now as the head of grades 5 through 8. Matt Magoon is a proud Derby Academy alumni, and he has the privilege of guiding today's middle school students through the same journey he once experienced himself. We'll talk about what makes middle school years so transformative, how Derby prepares students for secondary school and beyond, and what it means to return to lead the community that once shaped you. Let's get started. All right, Matt, thanks so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you finally.
Happy to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Awesome. So my first question is about working here. So you were a student here not too long ago, but how does it feel to walk into this job and now all of a sudden the same teachers that maybe taught you, you're now working with, they're colleagues of yours. So how does that feel?
It's an interesting and unique perspective. It's one that I never thought that I would be in, but here we are. And it's been spectacular. I think that everything that I felt as a student, I am now seeing how the sauce is made. But there are teachers, for example, Mr. Andrioli, Mr. Daly, that are here and were here when I was a student here. And so being able to see how much they care about the kids, about their craft, making sure that our programs are the very best, it's something that I felt as a kid. And now I'm seeing all the time and effort that goes into it. And it's just a really unique perspective and one that I'm really grateful to have right now.
That's awesome. And so I feel like on this podcast, we're trying to get out a lot of information. And I also feel like it's my duty to share facts with families and students and maybe some faculty that didn't know that. And so for today's Did You Know, Paul Daly was actually hired by Sarah Derby herself. He was the 5th employee at the school, and he's still here.
It's special.
It is he's a special guy, and he's just going to keep going. It's I think he's got another 100 years before he finally retires. So we're so happy to have him.
241 and counting.
and counting. So tell me about your own experience as a Derby Academy student. So what was that experience like? How did you find Derby? How did you feel about being a student here?
Yeah, I came here for 7th and 8th grade, so it was a short time, but it was impactful. And really the reason I came here is for the opportunities. So being able to, play 3 different sports, 4 if you consider rugby when we had it at the time, being able to be challenged academically was critical. And then jumping into the arts. So, I don't know if folks know this about me, not a super artistic human. In middle school was probably pretty resistant to it, but it showed me what I can do outside of just being an athlete and being strong in the classroom, which I will say I was super strong in the classroom. Obviously. Don't ask Mr. Andrioli about that. But yeah, it was just the opportunities that I was afforded here. Our kids get the opportunity to take, 3 essentially arts per trimester. They're on the stage, they're in the art room, they're in the shop, they're sewing. And, those are things that I've carried with me and really turned me into a person that I consider well-rounded and able to navigate certain situations.
Love that. What's something that is the same now at Derby, 20 years later? And what's something that's entirely different about Derby, maybe 20 years later?
Yeah, it's funny that I'm going to say that the mission is the same, but it is. Improving both mind and heart is really what I felt as a student and then what I see as a faculty member. And I think that our commitment to knowing our kids, making sure that they're challenged, and oftentimes kids will feel that stress. And one of those things that's really important is that we push them to a place where they're feeling it and they're able to get past it and then look back and say, been there, done that. And so as they're getting ready for high school, really it's my goal is to find that line, find where we can challenge them and also know how far we can challenge them because we have strong relationships with them. So that way when they find those challenges in, 9th grade, 10th grade, they look back on their experience and some of our alum come back and say, I'm writing these papers that I already know I can do, or, this math class is easy because I've taken geometry here. So, those are some of the things that I think really make Derby special.
Yeah, the stress is important, right? Like it's not a horrible feeling. Now, obviously, if you get pushed past the point, it can be a really uncomfortable feeling. But I feel like if you never truly feel stressed and tested, you don't know what you're capable of. So I love that about Derby. Middle school, so grades 5 through 8 can be exciting, challenging, awkward. What makes Derby's grade 5 through 8 program unique, special?
A few things. When I think of Derby, I think of tradition. We've been around for a really long time. The school has survived pandemics, it's survived wars, depressions, and we take that tradition that's here and also know that you have to be innovative to continue to elevate the student experience. And so one of the things that's been really special about Derby is that our kids are front and center in every decision that we make. Student-centered learning is critical for success. And we know that we have to carry on. We have the honor and the responsibility of carrying on what people before us have done. I think what makes Derby so different is that we know that history is there. We know that tradition is important. And we also want to honor it by progressing. So where, our STEM program, I think, is really taking off right now. One of the great things about being at Derby is this going to make the experience better for kids? Yes, great, do it. So our STEM program, we've added 3D printers. We have our Lego Spike Prime kits that our kids are engaging in right now. We joined the first Lego League. We have future cities in 6th grade. 5th grade is going to start working on some computer science and coding. So we're keeping up with the technological shifts. And with that, we're also protecting childhood. And I think one of the things that makes Derby so special is while we're having our kids navigate technology, engineering, and math, we are also letting them play on the playground and get dirty. And they have 45 minutes in middle school to play outside. I wish it was an hour and 30 minutes to play outside.
Perfect. All right. How do you see Derby preparing students academically, socially, and emotionally for secondary school, right? Our job as a pre-K through 8 school is to prepare these kids for not only high school, but life, right? So how are we at Derby preparing students for high school and then life?
Well, let's start academically. Our teachers are phenomenal. And so what I've noticed in just my year here is that we have educators that are dedicated to the kids, dedicated to getting better as teachers, and also just provide an unbelievable experience in the classroom. So our students are being challenged. They are, when we say rigor, a lot of people are like, yeah, make it as hard as humanly possible and kids will figure that. No, you need to place the rigor in a place where kids are able to access it while also be challenging. And so, some of the things that I noticed, for example, in a math classroom is kids are getting problems where they have all the tools to get there, but they may have never seen that problem before. And they need to reach into their toolbox and they need to solve it. And at the end of the day, it's rare that you'll hear in a math class, what did everybody get for problem 1? And then they answer it and they move on because it's not about the product, it's about the process. And so what you will see in some of our classes are kids talking about their process of solving a problem. Another kid chiming in saying, hey, I did it differently. Is that okay? And then a teacher being like, well, I actually did it a different way as well. And let's go through all 3 of those options. And so we really want to teach our kids how to think, not what to think. And I'll stick by that forever. And I think that as far as academics go, what we hear from our kids in high school is that they are well prepared when they leave us. And so we're going to keep doing what we're doing and continue to innovate in the classroom. Socially, our community is small. We are really close-knit. And I think because of that, kids feel comfortable taking risks. And whether they're on stage, all of the 6th graders participating in a musical is critical because they know the person to their left and to their right are doing something they may not be comfortable with. And that's okay. And they're going to fail together and they're going to pick each other up and then they're going to keep going. And I think that's what's magical about the 5th through 8th grade experience here is, it's not different to be playing 3 sports, doing 3 different arts, playing an instrument. When you see kids walking into school in the morning and they have an instrument here, athletic bag here, maybe a football in their hands, a water jug, and a backpack on, it's like, what more could you ask for? The kids are going to come in, they're going to do everything all day. And I think that that's just such a well-rounded and awesome experience for the kids.
Yeah, I love that. And so it's athletes up on stage, it's theater kids being forced to play sports, and everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. And I think it's a really good opportunity for 5th through 8th graders to figure out what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are and what they love and what they don't love. And that gets them to high school and they go into that experience being like, well, I know I'm a good theater person, but I also learned that I loved field hockey and I never had the opportunity to play except Derby forced me into it. And I love that.
And I think of these things also from a sports perspective too, and an arts perspective. When you're thinking about specialization at a young age, we see that there are risks with that, right? Obviously kids can specialize in a sport, go on, love it, and do excellent. There are also times where kids specialize. They're playing one sport around the clock, or they are, just practicing one instrument all the time. And, as they get older, they may lose that love of what they're doing. And I feel very strongly that kids in grades 5 through 8 should be exploring passions. So if you love playing hockey over being a baseball player, great. But there are things you can do in baseball that will make you a better hockey player. And I think that, our kids, we owe it to our kids to have that experience and be able to figure out their likes and their dislikes. I want kids to leave us and say, I love playing the flute and I'm going to continue playing the flute. I didn't love playing soccer for the last 3 years and I'm done. Yeah. And that's okay. But at least they tried and they gave it a full effort.
Love that. Love that. Talk to me a little bit about leadership in grade 5 through 8. Tell me about the programs that we offer. Tell me about the ways that our, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders really dive into that leadership experience. And then tell me about, maybe some of the 5th graders, what they're doing for leadership.
Yeah, so there are a few programs that jump out as far as leadership goes, some that have existed for a long time, some that we're working on right now. So first, I'll talk about our PALS program. I think our PALS program is unique to a pre-K to 8 experience. And it's one where our little ones look up to the bigger kids, the middle schoolers, and it's just a truly valuable experience for them to see, where they could be in 8 years, for example. And, for our 5th and 6th graders who are new to coming up onto this side of campus, and they're still trying to find their footing, is really valuable for them to be talking to a 2nd grader or a 3rd grader and saying, hey, I, am navigating this situation in this way. And, and I'll also come play with you on the playground because I love to be a kid too. Yeah. And those types of things are just magical. Yeah. And then in addition to our PALS program, we have our leadership and ambassador program right now that we've had for a long time, but we're currently trying to expand that access. So traditionally it was 8th graders would be our tour guides, really a select few 8th graders would be doing that. And now we've opened that up to everybody in 7th and 8th. And I think that's critical because kids can express leadership interest early and they can start their training earlier. And, if a 7th grader is really still working on handshake, eye contact, public speaking skills, and they're not doing a tour in 7th grade, but they're going through the training program, perhaps in 8th grade, they'll be ready to go. Yeah. And it'll make them, have more successful interviews if they're looking at secondary schools. And I think that these opportunities are ones in which our kids can start to feel a little more confidence in what they're doing. And then we also jump into your leadership and training course, which is lit. It sounds like the first class yesterday was pretty lit. Yeah, great. So I think that our kids in that class will have the opportunity to, again, work on those handshakes, work on eye contact, enter any room and be able to say, hey, my name is Matt Magoon. What's yours? And I think that you win 90% of the battle if you can just do that. And then we have smaller things. Our 6th graders do a learn and teach model in their history class. And so in the beginning of the year, kids can present on a topic and do so in any fashion that they want. So that could be literally sitting at their desk, quiet as a mouse. Everybody's like, hello, And then by the end of it, when you come in and see those presentations in May, you have kids sitting up with a Prezi presentation or a slideshow. They're enunciating clearly. Their classmates are giving feedback to them on how well their presentation went. And it's not like, oh, I like that you added this vocabulary word here, but it's more, hey, you really enunciated here. And then I also noticed you paused and looked around the room. And so kids are pointing these things out to each other in 6th grade. So when they get to 8th, they're there and they're ready to go. So it's really those small things that are happening every single day that our teachers are emphasizing that help set our kids up for success when they are on stage in 8th grade speaking in front of the entire upper school.
That's one of the things that I love about Derby is at every grade level, you have an age appropriate opportunity to public speak, right? We're not asking the pre-Kers to go up on stage and deliver speeches, and we kind of meet the students exactly where they are. So by the time these kids are in 8th grade, they have had all these public speaking opportunities that I just never did, going to public school. When I stood up on stage for the first time in 9th grade, I had no idea how to public speak. And some of these kids, when they're delivering their 8th grade speeches, I am blown away by the content, the poise, how well they articulate and enunciate. It's really a treat to watch as a faculty member and as a parent whose, hopefully shy daughter gets to that point by the time they're in 8th grade.
Yeah, and that doesn't start in 8th grade, right? And as you said, it's pre-K all the way through. And then it's giving back to our 7th graders, for example. One of their public speaking activities in English class is they're going to go down into the lower school and they're going to read a book to the younger kids. And that is a form of public speaking. Being able to look at a page, look at your audience, enunciate the words, read, that's nerve-wracking. You're doing it in front of 20-something little folks who have zero filter. And so that's a tricky thing for a seventh grader to do, but it's age appropriate and it's something that will prepare them. And it's just one other moment to get them ready for that eighth grade experience.
Fantastic. What are some of the traditions or programs in our 5 through 8 that you really love, that you're really excited about?
I think our STEM program's number one. I think that we are really launching into a great space with that. Our innovation center is unbelievable. And trying to get our kids in there as much as humanly possible, collaborating with the shop class as well and with sewing, and being able to have our kids start to work on some coding and some computer science. We know that that's sort of where the world is going. And if we can continue to improve both mind and heart while knowing that there are technological advancements, AI is happening whether we like it or not, it's important that our kids see that balance and how humanity is important while also keeping up with what is happening technologically for when they enter the workforce several years from now. I would also say that our athletic program, we are one of the schools that's still holding on to having all of our kids play 3 seasons. And I cannot overemphasize the value that that has for our kids. They come out of their shells. They are smiling on the field. They're getting exercise, which we all need every single day. They're outside in the fresh air, or they're in a rink before school. And when we talk about executive functioning skills, knowing that I have a practice for an hour or an hour and a half later on that day means that I got to take my time and resource to get things done. Or knowing that I have a morning practice and then I might have something, an after school activity as well. I know that I need to focus on my work. Maybe if I have a paper on Friday, I'm starting it on Tuesday. What middle schooler does that, right? And so it's important that our kids are starting to build those skills. And I think that our athletic program of having everybody participate and participate at a high level is really exciting.
Yeah, Paul has a lot of experience running an athletic program. So
what did we say? 241? Yeah,
he is
doing it for a long time.
Absolutely. With that kind of experience, you got a top-rate experience coming for you as an athlete. Do you have a favorite story or memory that captures the spirit of Derby?
I don't have one memory, but I think I have a few things that have come back to me going from the student to now an administrator's perspective. One is, and I may have lost this along the years a little bit, but the pleases, the thank yous, the holding doors, the eye contact, those types of things, they go a long way. And I remember when I went into my freshman year in high school and thanked the teacher after the first class, and they sort of looked at me like, "You're welcome. Why are you thanking me?" But that's a skill that I developed here. And it was something where when I came in, kids were already doing it. So I'm like, well, I better get in and do it myself. And that goes a long way. And I think that our kids, when they're going out to recess, 2 kids are always holding the door. When they're all coming in, kids are opening it up, letting others in, and kids are thanking each other, which you walk around to some of these middle schools and see it's not like that. It's one of those things where our kids are learning those skills now, and some of us need to relearn them later on when we continue on, but it just builds such a strong foundation. And another story and opportunity that I really think fondly of is field day. To come back and see how much effort goes into creating a competitive field day. I think field days have gone in the direction of everybody sort of having fun and no points scored or anything like that. Maybe I'm speaking as a topper who just can't stop winning, but I feel like I think having that competitive edge is still important. And as our kids are getting older, they have that culminating event where there's passion and pride, and some kids get to shine in a lot of the different events. Our field day is one that sets us apart. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else. I remember it as a student, and I loved seeing my first experience this past year, and the toppers just need to keep winning.
Keep winning. That's it. Just keep winning. So we're right at the end of the podcast. I wanted to ask you a couple fun, quick questions. Favorite spot on campus when you were a student?
Oh, that's a good one. When I was a student, it's actually, so I have 2. I'll say the first one's not on campus. That's why I'll give you a second one. There's nothing better than 6 a.m. Pilgrim Arena when it's freezing cold outside, getting ready for a hockey practice. I snuck into a few last year just to, go play and skate with the kids in the morning. And I thought that was awesome. And it brought back a ton of memories. So it's where some of the best moments happen, is before everybody else is awake, getting out there and playing some hockey. But on campus, I'd say Larson Hall. Having the whole community get together twice a week, at least, to celebrate things that are happening in the classroom, or celebrate different cultures, or go over what a holiday means, actually. It's very important for our kids to take a minute, be together, go over the sports scores, know what's happening in the community. And then, come November and March, it's buzzing with a musical in there. And we have a packed house of everybody coming to see their kids or their friends or their family members perform. Last year, I felt like I should have been paying to come watch these musicals. Yeah. It's unbelievable what the kids are doing on stage. So I think Larson Hall is just really a spectacular place to bring everybody together. And it's interesting because as a student, I probably wouldn't have said that because the stage was not my place. The further I could get away from the stage, the better. But now that I'm there and I see it and I see the value that it had for me, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I hope that our kids can have the same experience.
Favorite Derby tradition, either then or now?
Favorite Derby tradition has to be the dining hall, sitting with teachers across grade level. That's a unique experience to have that many adults in the dining hall. You have a 1-to-7, 1-to-8 ratio where, typically in schools, it's about 2 teachers for 120 kids, and it's not personalized and it's not special and it's not considered. It's just Phil, eat your lunch and move on. Here it's purposeful. Teachers are asking would you rather questions. Teachers are, engaging in conversation with the kids, encouraging our older kids to start engaging with the younger kids. And
another leadership opportunity for our 8th graders.
Exactly. And so it's really important that we hold on to that tradition and know that it's invaluable. A lot of meetings are held over lunch, or when kids get older, it's important that they're able to have table manners and etiquette while also being able to engage in conversation. And if we could start that in essentially pre-K, our kids are ahead of the game.
Love it. One word that best describes the Derby, maybe 5 through 8 experience. You get one word.
Innovation. I say innovation because the school doesn't exist for 241 years without keeping up with the times and constantly improving. And so every teacher, every kid comes here with the mindset of we're going to get a little bit better every single day and continue on the traditions of the school. And in order to do so, you have to be innovative and you have to try new things. Sometimes it's a risk, but I often find that a great reward will come with that.
Perfect. Last question. This is our closing question. We've asked all of our guests this. What does the Derby difference mean to you? As someone who went to school here, 7th and 8th grade, and now is the head of the grades 5 through 8, what does the Derby difference mean to you?
For me, Derby has this aura, if I'm using the words that the kids are using these days. And when you're part of the community, you really feel it. You feel challenged because you look to your left and you look to your right and you see kids who are working their tails off in class, on the stage, in the sewing room, on the fields. And when somebody's doing that next to you, it only elevates your own experience. I feel the same way when I come to work every day and I look to my left and right and I see people making innovative podcasts or, saying, hey, I could really add some printers to this innovation center right now. And it's going to make our student experience so much better because we have different colors that kids can use and it moves faster and we don't have to take all day for a 3D printing project. And I think that the people who are here just want to get better every day. And everyone brings a growth mindset. We're always looking to improve. We're open to ideas, learning from the community, learning from families, learning from kids, soliciting feedback. It's the only way we can get better. And so it's really exciting to me that a lot of communities will say, we are open to this, we're open to change, and then it may be hard to budge. But what I've really felt is that people are excited about new ideas. We can throw together a splash party on a Friday in the first week of school, and people are there and excited about it. And so that's just really what I think sets us apart.
That wraps up this episode of The Derby Difference. A huge thank you to our head of grades 5 through 8, Matt Magoon, for sharing his perspective, not only as a leader guiding today's middle schoolers, but also as an alumni who experienced the power of a Derby Academy education firsthand. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe and tune in for future episodes where we'll be continuing to explore the people and stories that define Derby Academy. Until next time, thanks for listening and keep living the Derby difference.